Let's go! Gumball wildly embraces absurdity, but in a good way. It's spontaneous, wacky, surreal, and that's part of what makes it so fun. And frankly, it's an outright crime against humanity to not talk about some of the good episodes. So let's check out my personal favorites and some downright weird episodes. Let's check out the top 5 weirdest and best Gumball episodes. Please excuse me if I do miss any particularly weird or really good episodes. This could easily be a top 30 list. Also, thank you to Amino Apps for sponsoring this video. The Amino App's basically a mobile network of communities for a ridiculously wide range of interests of every type. Not just cartoons, but games and anime and sports and lots of different stuff. There's even an Amino for conspiracy theories. I've personally found it to be one of the best places to connect with people who share interests. They have a Gumball community, and as you can imagine, it's a freaking huge community. What impresses me most about the Gumball community, though, is the amount of creativity many show in both artwork and story writing. I found the group to be very welcoming, too. On Amino, you can browse a curated feed of fun content created by other users, vote on polls, or even take quizzes, and obviously make them yourselves. Gumball's one has a summertime event of drawing Gumball in summer, and this interesting drink event where artists are drawing Gumball-themed characters based on the drink they're given. Let's see, it's 9 members chatting, 2 voting on polls, 19 reading posts, and 4 giving likes. Looks like there's always something going on here. You can also text, voice, and avatar chat with people into the same things as you from all over the world. I've been curious of the community's favorite Gumball episodes, so I've made a chat room in the Gumball Amino on that. Links to Amino is in the description. Anyway, on to the countdown. The 5th weirdest Gumball episode is The Puppets. Gumball and Darwin get sucked into an alternative reality created by Darwin's old puppets and have to find a way out of their own weird, uncanny, and slightly horrific imagination world.
I don't know what's going on!
This episode, well, it's peculiar, but most of all, it's haunting and disturbing. The world Gumball and Darwin get transported to really captures the essence of a child's imagination, and it's just oozing creativity. But at the same time, there's something very wrong about these puppets. Instead of these puppets being funny, they're more creepy and satanic.
We'll make you dance, we'll make you fight.
You'll smear yourself with worms all night!
We'll make you eat toenails and grease.
The reason for that is because this episode was done in collaboration with the writers of the famous horror comedy web series Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And when these two kooky teams work together, it makes for a visually funky, slightly maniacal world. The Puppets is an episode where Gumball dances through the uncanny and slightly horrific, but still has that usual funny, tongue-in-cheek underside. And the 5th best Gumball episode is The Shippening. What happens when you put the fabric of reality in the hands of an erotic fanfic love story writer who can't write a normal sentence to save her life?
The waves of their love sweeping away everything around them.
I honestly wonder if the writers actually pulled up a bunch of DeviantArt Gumball fanfics for this episode and just parodied them. Sarah basically just ships every character in town together, and we watch the madness unfold. What I like in particular about this episode is when Sarah's choice of words is outright wrong, which happens quite a lot, we'll still see the literal result of these jumbled, incoherent sentences.
They kissed, their lips crashing into each other.
Anyway, we get all sorts of creative fanfics coming to life here that I swear were written by real fans. Like, if Carrie the Ghost and Gumball had kids together when they were older, would that produce like a tiny cat ghost or something? The shippening not only points out how illogical these shippings of characters are in the real show, but more importantly, it shows the imagination and passion behind each of these fanfic writers' shippings. It really expresses the affection and investment each of these fans have for Gumball's characters. It's a chaotic 10 minutes of great ideas and meta jokes. And the 4th weirdest Gumball episode is The Money. Here we have the Watterson family tackling the difficult question: how dire do things have to get in entertainment before accepting sponsorship? What? I see the irony too, but I'm gonna eat too, you know. What makes this episode so crazy though, is that the animation budget runs out halfway. We then get to see some really inventive, animation, or lack thereof. Seriously, this 5 minutes alone is phenomenal and makes the entire episode worth your time. By the end, the fourth wall just doesn't exist. We reach a point in the story where the budget is so low that we're literally looking at post notes and storyboards of characters. The episode's got a good moral dilemma with a ton of innovation thrown in during the process.
Advertising doesn't need to feel forced or fake. It can be done in a subtle and natural way.
This episode isn't helping my conscience any.
Look, whatever it is you're trying to say, it's not gonna work.
And the fourth best Gumball episode is the Copycats. Copycats just perfectly demonstrates the best response to imported ripoffs.
Be your own you. Be your own you.
You might remember I chatted about Gumball's Chinese clone Miracle Star a while back, while also botching up majorly several times along the way. Anyway, Miracle Star's a shameless Gumball ripoff with a little bit of Chinese cultural edge to it that gives it some of its own unique definition. And when Gumball's creators found out about this show, they responded to China's lack of imagination in the most tasteful, clever way possible. Not by screaming copyright and suing them, but by accepting it and sharing the joke with all of us. So the story is, the Watterson family meets their Chinese doppelgangers, who copy literally everything they do.
Get in your stupid car and don't come back. Get in your stupid car and don't come back.
Dagnabbit!
So the Wattersons use this to their advantage. Eventually, this results in the Wattersons trying to get into horrible accidents in order to get Miracle Star to copy these accidents. There's honestly only one or two scenes I had mixed feelings on, but they serve the joke of the episode well enough. And this episode gives us easily one of the best songs in the entire series.
Be your own you.
And now, thanks to Miracle Star, Gumball's got even more clever, knee-slapping viral YouTube videos. So I guess we can actually thank them for copying Gumball. Copycats turned something that could have been legitimately ugly into a really funny classic episode. And the third weirdest Gumball episode is The Tape. An episode that is made up purely of Gumball and his friends doing weird stuff on camera. And it's so funny.
And here we are in the natural habitat of the Mubis gelatinus.
For most of this episode, I honestly have no idea what's going on. It's like we're actually watching Gumball's camera clips from several random stages of his day.
Commercial break.
Come on, hurt yourself.
What? Why?
Cause that's what people want, man. Alright, then look cute.
Somehow they not only make this feel very gripping to watch, but surprisingly relatable too. Like, I remember doing this sort of thing a lot when I was playing around with cameras at Gumball's age. At one point, Gumball even tries a cheat code in real life.
Up, down, left, right, B, A.
What is this cheat for?
It's for...
And honestly, who hasn't tried this at some point in their day? And then boss, I know, I'll use a cheat code. Haha. Left, right, up, down, A, start. That's better. Now I can take him on. Oh, maybe I can get even stronger. Let's see. Left, right, up, down. Well, that didn't work. Well, at least I can finally get a seat on the bus. Let's see now. Left, right, up, down. Oh, wonderful. The tape is full of crazy, unpredictable antics from Gumball, Darwin, hell, most of the towns in here. It's bonkers, but a really playful, clever episode at the same time. And the third best Gumball episode is The Shell.
Here we go. I'm gonna be myself.
This is probably the most action-packed romance I've ever seen. When I've seen Penny and Gumball's romance in the past, I wasn't really expecting it to turn into flying dragons and massive shape-changing monsters. While Gumball is generally about the parody and comedy, sometimes they take the time to make pleasant, heartwarming episodes like this. And the jokes that are there really hit, and they match the drama. I really like Richard's lines in this one in particular.
No! It's a tragic misunderstanding that could have been really easily avoided if he just finished his sentence in time!
The Shell is almost like we're watching a small Gumball movie. The music swells with the scenes, and the atmosphere is mysterious and cinematic.
I'm not letting you leave.
Gumball, no, you get hurt.
With a beautiful ending to finish off. There was one particular bit though that really caught me by surprise. Well, each to their own taste, I guess. This is a moment that really made me laugh out loud. It's subtle, it's completely unexpected, and sneaks by the senses brilliantly. And damn, if this moment at the end doesn't just say it all.
That's not what you are. It's just how you feel. And this is how I feel.
The Shell is one of those Gumball episodes that finds the perfect balance of heartwarming, fast-paced, and funny. And the second weirdest Gumball episode is The Weirdo. It's time for the adventures of the ultimate personification of weird. She's a well-meaning and polite, hand-chin thing. It's Sussy! In this episode, Gumball and Darwin notice Sussy, surprisingly, doesn't fit in at school. So Gumball and Darwin try to help her be less weird. What's interesting about Sussy is, when I look at her, I'm never quite sure whether to feel delighted or horrified. So I find myself jumping sporadically between laughing and my eyes widening in terror as I watch her maniacal behavior. Just listening to Sussy talk for 5 seconds is a positively dangerous dose of weird.
What is that?
Mayonnaise.
Why?
It's very precious. You can moisturize your elbows with it, or write with it, or feed it to a car.
I find this episode a strange delight, though. Sussy is the kind of, character upside down chin that I like, that just embraces her own oddities shamelessly. Underlying Sussy's very existence is a nice message about perception and the acceptance of things we don't understand, or at least a tolerance. And when we truly stop worrying about what other people think, that is when we are truly free. I mean, this would be all very beautiful if Sussy wasn't so weird. Weird, but beautiful. And the second best Gumball episode is The Console. Oh, this one is just epic. A beautifully made JRPG parody, Gumball style. When Richard gives Gumball a lousy Game Boy knockoff called Game Child,
This is such a knockoff, even the country it was made in is a knockoff.
he suddenly gets transported into a JRPG world. I think many gamers can relate to the experiences Gumball, Darwin, and Anais have from this second-rate knockoff RPG.
My butt uses axe. It is ineffective.
Like, why can I ransack random people's houses and then be perfectly cool with that? Or when an obstacle's blocking the path, why the hell can't we just walk around it? And of course, the old tradition of chuckling over when we add silly names to serious characters.
A foul curse has been unleashed upon our town by my butt.
You mean the gates of doom were opened by my butt?
The fabric of the universe was ripped apart by my butt.
I love the artistic, retro pixelated style. And it's great fun seeing the Wattersons in a game setting so nostalgic to me. The Console is a slick RPG parody that takes me right back to grinding for experience on those monsters in the fields all over again, but in a good way. And before we get to the number ones, let's look at a couple of quick weirdable mentions. The Nuisance. Oh, you want weird, do you? Oh, I'll give you weird. How about the Wattersons as horrifying, fleshy, 5-fingered, Homo sapien humans? The Hug. This is some of the most hilariously awkward interactions I've seen in this show. So basically, Gumball is trying to be unpredictable, and in the process, hugs a random hot dog stranger, as you do. And because apparently you can't unhug a person, he now has to hug the equally polite stranger every time he sees him. This leads to some very funny moments that I won't spoil for you. And as for honorable mentions, The Parents. This is a perfectly constructed, serious episode, looking at Nicole's fight with her parents and how they can reconcile. It once again shows that Gumball can do intense but kind episodes really well when they want to. And with those said, on to number one. And the number one weirdest Gumball episode is The Night. How does Gumball destroy all attempts at continuity and sense? How do you break down all barriers that require normality? Enter the world of dreams, which takes us to every bizarre corner of the surreal we can imagine. Oh, what's that? You think their dreams couldn't possibly be that weird? Well... Okay, well, what does the rest of the town dream about? Well, Richard dreams what any warm-blooded man would dream. That he's a piece of dough.
I'm a bun, I'm a tasty, tasty bun to be baked and eaten. Oh, how fun.
What, don't you dream you're a piece of dough? Good luck interpreting that one, Freud. Mind you, I'm sure he'd still think it means sex. Half the time, I can't even tell if the characters are dreaming or if they're awake. Hell, let's just turn all of Gumball's class into speaker sets for some reason. And believe it or not, it gets weirder. The Robinsons might go Super Saiyan in one scene. And Ais might dream of one of the creepiest scenes in the whole series. All I know now is we better keep an eye on that doll. But as for the mother of all weird in Gumball, I give you the ever-lovely Sussie's Dream.
Okay, cut. And that's a wrap. All right, thanks everybody.
Sussie turned into a monster!
Can somebody go check on her? Is she okay?
You've seen it. You can't unsee it. The Dream is an episode that was so surreal, befuddled, and blurred that it made me feel like I was slightly in a dream watching it. I personally think it contains some of the most scrambled, unexpected, and weird moments in the series. And we even finished this mind-boggling but awesome 10 minutes on a beautiful, universal quote.
Enjoy this moment while it lasts. Embrace whatever comes to pass. For the day is always kind of rough, because the night is never long enough.
And the #1 best Gumball episode is The Choices. Jeepers, this episode is beautiful. This episode's about everyone's favorite super efficient, driven, ambitious, but deadly cat lady, Nicole. The Choices shows us the many timelines Nicole could have followed in just one tiny moment in time. We see here that amazing phenomenon that we sometimes forget, how the tiniest choices in a person's day can dramatically change their future life. It's one of those fascinating, fun features of being alive. And speaking of which, we don't shy away from the bad timelines either.
That makes sense.
A couple of timelines result in Nicole being outright dead. I guess Richard inadvertently saved her life that day. We jump between the future, the past, the present, all sorts of alternative timelines from Nicole. The story takes us on a 9-minute roller coaster thrill ride, and the final scene makes me shed a tear with just a 30-second interaction between Nicole and Richard.
I've got to run now.
Why?
To compete.
Why?
'Cause I have to fight.
Why?
Because I have to be the best.
Why?
So people will like me.
But lots of people already like you.
I couldn't recommend this episode more. The entire message and theme of the episode really hit me deep, making the audience think back on not necessarily what we achieve for others to see, but in simply enjoying what we have in this moment. Because in the grand scheme of things, what are we really trying to prove?
What should I do with my life?
Maybe start living it?
It's a touching and absolutely gorgeous episode that shows the beauty of both Nicole and Richard's characters and why they're actually perfect for each other. I personally consider The Choices the absolute best Gumball episode. Interestingly, the most common complaint I've heard about Gumball is simply that the show started off average. But as the seasons have gone on, it's become one of those great cartoons that has had seasonal rebirth. The further the series goes on, the more that it feels like we're laughing right along with the creators of the show. Doing this list gave me a chance to appreciate the best moments of this series, and made me an even bigger fan of Gumball. So thank you once again for introducing me to something I enjoy. You really do help enrich my world, and I appreciate that. And if you have a particularly weird or favorite episode of Gumball yourself, feel free to mention it in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. These are my social media buttons. I use Instagram and Twitter quite a lot, so if you'd like to be kept up to date with what I'm doing, feel free to check out the links in the description.